In handstand, it's easier, go ahead, reach your arms up, to have the shoulders in line with the elbows, but often when we bend the elbows, like forearm balance, the arms will naturally come toward the front of your body, and you can show this to your students. So you want to make sure that when they're moving the arms to the back body, the upper belly doesn't kind of flail forward. So this tends to be what happens when we get the elbows in line with the shoulders. You can relax. So what that would mean when we're upside down is there's a likelihood of the face hitting the floor. All right, so what we want to practice, Rachel's pretty flexible, so she can do this, is doing some shoulder prep work so that the arms can move to the back body and those front ribs engage. It requires a fair amount of concentration, but over time it becomes easier. All right, so for the, go ahead, you can relax. When we're practicing getting upside down, one way to secure the elbows. So if you have a student whose shoulders are tighter and the elbows tend to splay out, you'll have them measure the strap shoulder width apart, and then we'll place the loop around the elbows. All right, maybe you make it a little wider than shoulder just to like give them a little bit more ease in the pose. And then she's going to place her palms down. All right, and we have the block around her hands. And that's probably most comfortable because we get more space for the head. When the block is between the forearms, sometimes depending on the arm length and the neck, it can be a little claustrophobic. So the block is kind of insisting on keeping the palms apart. And then from this position, push the floor away with your elbows. Yes, we want to feel that length, that spaciousness along the outer shoulder. And then she'll walk her feet in, lift one leg up, and then she gives it a good old kick. There we go. All right. Yeah, and similar technique to handstand. Rather than having both feet at the wall and thrusting the hips away from the wall to get off, we're going to practice moving the hips back, keeping the front belly engaged, inner thighs, and now everything is set up. We just have to get that foot lighter and lift off. All right, from this position, front ribs in. Good. And then what would it take to get off my legs? Move the whole torso back. There we go. So that little tap of the small of the back, you can take a child's pose, rest for a moment, tends to help the whole torso move forward. This is useful in handstand as well. Another technique, if a student's body is falling toward the front of their body, is to have them shift their gaze forward more, and that will also help move their body forward. All right, we can let go of the strap. Been there, done that. All right. If you have a student that's working on their forearm balance and no block available or strap, you can have them practice with the fingers interlaced. So Rachel's going to once again interlace her fingers, and what she's done with her elbows to lock them in place is she lands them down a little closer together than she would in her forearm balance, and then stretch the skin out. So the sticky mat is like her strap. And then same thing. We'll lift the knees up, walk the feet in, and give it a lift. Okay, yep, hopping up. And for her, because she's very flexible in her hips, it's lighter to get upside down. Because she's well practiced, she knows how to square her hips once she gets up there. For newer students, it's nice to reinforce the levelness of the hips and then back off, let their body figure it out. And if they continue to use the open hip variation, they'll work out how to square the hips later. And she can go ahead and come on down. All right. Another technique. Now this is for the student whose head really does fall to the floor or has just a lot of difficulty stacking their shoulders with their hips. Rachel taught me this one. All right, she's going to place her hands around the block, and then she'll place the back of her head on the block. So this prevents the shoulders from collapsing forward, and it gives us a third point of contact to help with stability in the inversion. She'll go ahead, make her way up. The hips were quite square on that one. Look how much more stable we are. And what she's doing here, she's using the hip flexors to keep her pelvis stable. And then come on down. Okay. For a student who's really unwilling or just unable to kick up, we can do another similar technique that You can practice with headstand or handstand. Turn around. And for this one, just to mix it up, we're gonna have her closer to the wall than a leg's distance. And then she'll place her forearms down. All right, this may feel a little claustrophobic at first when they're getting up, but just insist. All right, I'm gonna have her look forward and then drop your feet to hip height so the knees will be strongly bent. One leg lifts up. Good. And now we're using this knee drawing into the chest to help engage the core and get off of the wall. So knee to chest variation in inversions can be helpful because, well, we have that teeter-totter action between the top leg and bottom, and then we're gonna use this knee drawing into the chest. Go ahead. And then use it to pull your hips back more from here. Yes. So we're using that knee pulling in to help lean the body back. Maybe more effective for some than others. It's also a nice way to have your students just practice getting their body upright with the assistance of the wall. So getting the curves, the shoulders beyond the elbows and the sway in the low back. You can have your students set up a camera and see what it would take to have their body aligned when they go home and want to do their homework. Good job.
Oh.